Hi everyone, this is Sawyer from Sawyer Injury Law in Atlanta. The topic of today's video is, what happens to my case during a lawsuit? Well, first of all, why does a case wind up in a lawsuit? 9 times out of 10, it's because the lawyer and the client, right, the client has a disagreement with the insurance company over the overall value of the case. Right? Cases settle when people agree on their value, but if they disagree, they have to go into the lawsuit stage and wind up going to trial like you see on television if there's no agreement to settle first. So all cases wind up in a courtroom at some point unless you call timeout and settle the case. So during that phase of what we call litigation, a lawsuit, a complaint is filed, which is a paper that says, I, injured person, have sued this other person who's injured me, and here's the reason why I'm suing them. It's basically a paragraph by paragraph story of what the other person did wrong and what kinds of injuries and damages it caused you. Now, shortly after that, the lawyers for insurance companies and or the other driver answer the lawsuit, and in that answer, they either admit what they did was wrong and challenge your injuries and the damages that you're claiming, or they don't, but they file that answer, and then the case moves into what they call the discovery phase. The discovery phase of any case involves researching what the other side or third parties out there know or don't know about the collision and the injuries and the damages involved in any case. That period generally is 6 months in Georgia. In some cases, it can be shortened or lengthened depending on whether you're in state court, meaning here in Georgia, or you're in federal court, which is also in all 50 states. The rules are a little bit different depending on which court, but that's a general roadmap for what happens. After all of that happens, then the judge will typically ask, what's the deal with your case? Where does it stand? And we'll ask questions about its status after that 6 months period is over. Sometimes it can take up to a year before the judge checks in with you, sometimes more, sometimes less. It's just all dependent on what happens with your judge, how busy they are, how backlogged they are, and things like that. But give or take, you're typically looking at anywhere between 18 and 24 months before you're going to actually see a courtroom for a case that does not settle first. Before a trial, the judge will call the lawyers in, and you'll have what's known as a pre-trial conference. That conference is basically a planning session so that the judge and your opponent understands where you are coming from, and you understand where the insurance company is coming from when the case goes to trial. They'll talk about things like who's going to testify on video, things of that nature, and the judge will set the ground rules for the trial. That ultimately helps to make things go much smoother when you're in the courtroom. And then after that, after a trial that could take a day or a few days, the jury will issue a verdict. And that number will ultimately determine what the case is worth if the two sides can't agree on its worth.